Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Book Block, a series where I bring my fantasy novel to life in Minecraft, one block at a time. Continuing on from the last episode, we're working down here on the plains, just getting it all ready so it feels a little bit more complete, so when we do finish all of the big builds like the volcano, it kind of feels like a full project all complete. So let's get into it. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to work on this episode isn't actually down in the plains, it's up here in the mountains. One thing I've been wanting to do, and I've talked about in quite a few episodes, is adding snow to these mountains. Because right now this whole area looks like a very arid, warm, moderate temperature area, but I want these mountains to feel like they're the icy cold ones because of how tall they are. Like in Minecraft, there's a certain condition for getting snow instead of rain at certain Y levels, but because this is a plains biome, on the left side there, everything's plains because it's a super flat area, it's not going to actually do any until I get super, super high in the area. So I'm going to go in, and in Axiom, what you can do is you have this thing called a biome painter. So if you change the biome painter to something icy, so ice spikes, or no, let's look through. Let's see which one. Snowy. You want something snowy. So you want something cold. I think ice spikes might, or frozen peaks, that works best. So what you can do is you can then paint areas with a biome. So as you see, this kind of area is selected. It's like this blue kind of grid area. So that's all the different biomes. So if you check on the F3, over on the left side, about halfway down, you say biome, plains, and then if I go forward a little bit, now we're in frozen peaks. So what this is going to do, if I come back into Axiom, and I can change the weather really quickly here, I change it to rain. But as you can see, now we're getting snow. But as you can see, there's no snow here because I did not select this area. See, there's no snow in these areas because I haven't selected it. The second I do, we get snow. So I think this will just be able to grab a little bit of just the snowy peaks. It's hard to see when it's raining because the clouds get a little bit thicker. But if we go back to clear, the clouds will kind of thin out and you can kind of just barely see the snow from the ground. So I'm going to go around and do a couple of the caps right now. I'm not going to do all of them because that'll take a little while and I can just do that. It's not super important to get it all done now. I can do it in between episodes, just one of those side projects I work on. So I'm going to go around, add a little bit in. Another thing I can do is if I create a mask and I check for the snow, and then I grab a painter and maybe just some ice. Let's check out a bit of ice. So maybe some frosted ice. And then if I go like this, I can go underneath and add in like that. Now that's a little too blue. I want more of the white. So maybe let's go in for just snow. Just the regular snow block. So now if I do that, that adds a lot more. If I wanted it to be a little less, I can maybe go into the noise painter and change it to that, but lower it, so even just at the 50%. So that's not quite as much snow. I mean, it's kind of clumping up because of the large scale, so if I lower that out a little bit, maybe just to 2, and then grab all that, that just adds a little bit more white to these caps. So I'll try and go around, mess around with like different percentages, see what works best. Maybe I'll mix in a tiny bit of the ice in there, just to get a little bit more color on the caps of these mountains. Alright, so as you can see here, I've kind of gone around and done some of the peaks with the snow. I've mostly just done the biome changing with the biome painter, and I've left the kind of snow bits to a little bit after, once I get like a feel for how I want it. Especially since I am still expanding the ring. If I come over to this side, as you can see, I've slowly started expanding the ring out further. These bits are a little bit too pointy, so I've got to kind of peter them out, make them a little more fitting for the rest of this, because this is kind of the highest points in the whole mountain ring. So these ones all just feel very sharp. So I want to kind of raise up these middle bits and maybe shrink down a couple of these outer bits. But if we load in over here was kind of my experimental area for how far I wanted to go out. This kind of felt like a good range because I want this to be a kind of impenetrable fortress of mountains. But after that, we got a couple more things. So let's hop down here and see this. Alright, so I've gone and done a little bit of a tree here. This area kind of felt a little bit open and not a lot was going on, so I thought I would add in a little bit of detail in this huge tree here. And how I accomplished that was I came over here to my blueprint browser and I picked out one of my larger trees. That was spruce 3 here. So all I did is I pasted this in, and then if we go to the rotate scale up here in the top right, you can change the scale by rotate 3 or 2. So what I did is I did 3 times. As you can see, I'll paste it in up here, a little floating there. It looks very weird because it's doing a little bit of math on what a small tree, so if I compare the original, so let's bring that up here. So this is 3 times the scale, but it just doesn't really follow that quality that I kind of had with these kind of branches coming off. So what I went and did is I came in here with the roughen tool, and I kind of just messed around with the add, remove, the ratio, just on these little bits. I made sure to include the block, so only the spruce leaves, so mask here, so only the spruce leaves kind of got messed up. First I did just the add, so that I could add around and fill in these little areas. It does affect other things, but for the most part it just does a little bit of thickening of the whole thing. After I had enough of that, I did add and remove, and just went around and kind of messed with it until it felt a bit more natural and less kind of, well, I don't want to say blocky because it is Minecraft, but that's kind of the only way I can describe it. It just felt very uniform. After that, I chopped it in half, so I just kind of took a bit from here all the way up, rotated it and placed it on the ground, and then brought out a little bit of these because it was the spruce, not the spruce log, it was the spruce wood. So it kind of looked like this, which doesn't really have the cross section of the tree. So I came in manually, added in a couple spruce logs, and then the same on this side here. After that, I went in and adjusted a couple of the leaves. So I went and played around with a couple different types. I felt like the birch leaf kind of felt like it was the dying variation. So the spruce looked very kind of lively, and I couldn't really do any of the others. Because if I go and I'll grab all the leaves, I'll just do a little side by side of all the kind of natural-ish looking ones. The spruce kind of is the darkest of the colors. If you look here, this is the spruce, but it looks very vibrant on here, so I couldn't add in any of these really brightly covered ones. I'm thinking of adding maybe some of these pale oak ones to simulate kind of its dying in its phase. Its tree maybe fell over maybe only a couple of years ago, so it's not like a dead tree. Maybe it's kind of magical. It's got the power of the earth still feeding it, so it'll last a little bit longer before it fully decays. So let's remove these kind of here. Remove my kind of, gonna have to Control Z a couple times to get rid of all these changes. And then that's another piece finished on the plains. Another little detail here is this little hunting cabin I kind of made on these outskirts. I brought the forest around it a little bit, and I have a little path kind of leading up to it. I'm not sure if I'll connect it with a full path, but I think it's just this is the most common path that the hunter uses, so this is kind of where they trod on the most destruction of the grass. I don't think I'll make a full path because it feels like it's not so much a well-worn path that this kind of hunter uses. But if we come down here, it's kind of just a small little shack. Nothing too fancy because it's kind of out here in the woods, all on its own. So if we come on in here, it's got his own little table. I went around and did quite a few of these little entities. So he's got a little water container, a little cauldron, little bucket that he uses to grab the water, and then a little fireplace that kind of goes up in the chimney as you saw. We've got his kind of bow on a little stand with a couple little arrows ready to be used. We climb up the ladder up here. We've got his little kind of bedroom, kind of little shelving area. His sword, I could maybe turn that into a dagger if I want to shrink it down, and kind of his little bedroom, just a little attic room. Now if we come on to the backyard here, a little bit of a trampled area, but we've got a huge kind of, I feel like this might actually be a little bit too big because standing next to it, it would be a huge creature that this would be kind of the tanning, so I might shrink this down a little bit. But I've got to kind of get some sticks, a little bit of leather, just holding it up so he's getting some leather tanned and ready for either selling or maybe turning into some clothes. Then over here, kind of got his little campfire, a really stretched out stick, and this is one of those custom player head as an entity, so just a nice piece of meat roasting over the fire here, and then some wood that he's been chopping up. Now a little bit of detail, I kind of had a little path into the woods. So if you follow me down in here, We follow this path and we come across a trapped bunny rabbit. So I made kind of like a little trap cage, and then I'm using these kind of barrier blocks you can see here to keep him in, but using the entities as kind of detail for him trapped. So the hunter, when he comes by, he'll make a nice meal out of this guy. But if we come in here a little further, it's a little bit ways into the forest, so I'm not sure how much I'll show you, but I'll just kind of zoom in here and we'll see what comes to the end of this path. Alright, and here we are, deep into the forest. So we got a little bit of a natural pond out here that I kind of designed as the water source for my hunter, instead of having to go all the way back to the main village on the little pond, river, lake thing with the river, so he doesn't have to go all that way just to get some water. So I just kind of took an indentation of the ground, filled it with water, replaced the bottom with mud, made it a little bit deeper, and then these trees kind of turned into like the mangrove trees, even though they're my custom trees, because it would have taken too long to remove them. So I just left them in and just submerged them a little bit. Same with this nice little boulder here, just to get a little bit more detail into the area. I haven't really seen any so far, but I have added in a little bit of wildlife around the area. I added in some wolves, some foxes, a couple frogs in this area. They all seem to have wandered off. I also added in a couple of beehives with bees. That's why I've got some of the dandelions kind of spread around. And some bats. So if at night they might come out, I don't know if they'll despawn because I didn't name any of them. So it might not be so easy to see them. The rabbit I did trap at the beginning of the forest is named, so he won't despawn, but any others might. So that's a little bit of an issue. I'll have to look into see if there's a way of getting them and keeping them from despawning. Another thing I noticed was all these trees, some of them are a little bit damaged, same with these boulders, because I made the mistake of not doing keep everything or keep existing when I pasted them in, and some of them I didn't do extend to ground for the trees, so they're a little bit messed up in certain areas like this. So I've gone around and fixed a couple of them, but not all of them can be fixed because there are literally thousands of trees in this forest. So I did want to make this like a world download one day so you guys could come walk through and enjoy everything I've built. So I might do some off-camera building of just little secret areas, just so there's something you guys can explore that I haven't shown in any of my videos. So if that ever does happen, look forward to that. But with all the little bit of this pond and a little bit more story, as well as all the animals, I feel like it's really livened up this forest here. I'll try and get out. It's hard to get out sometimes with all these leaves, but it's really kind of brought it up. As you can see, the river or the pond, oh, there it is. So it's right around here. So it's a massive forest. I thought of going a little bit further, but I think this is good enough for a trek, so it's not too far where going to the village would make more sense. But I think I've really livened up this area. Alright, so now if I come over to this side, it was kind of feeling a little bit empty, so I started pasting in a couple of boulders. So if I come to the outskirts of the kind of area here, I went and built a couple of different types. I kind of directionized for the little myth where like moss only grows on the north side, so I kind of pasted a couple like that, but that's actually not true, as from what I've researched and I saw quickly, but I just grabbed a couple different types here. So I used the Rocky, so rock tool, and I just kind of went around, remove that, I'll have to put it back to stone, and just went like that. And then I kind of added in a bit of tuff, maybe, yeah, I think it was just tuff and stone. Then I tossed in a bit of moss, a bit of this pale moss for like maybe dead moss on it. And then like on the darker side, you can either have some mushrooms growing and then some of this dead coral. And then a couple of these pointy dripstones just for a little bit more kind of activity on the whole rock itself. I'm not sure how many more I'm going to post, or not post, paste in here, but this just gives a little bit of color and texture to the whole kind of area here. I also did all of the kind of plains here, making it a little bit more hilly, smooth it out, just to give it a little bit more detail to this area. So I think I'm done with the plains. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue this path since there is a bridge, so I'm not sure where this path is going to lead, if it's going to kind of make its way back here. So I might have to just kind of, actually, let's do that now. So I'm going to go with the noise painter. We're going to search dirt, and then these are the dirts I use. So dirt path, coarse, and rooted. Dirt again, and dirt one more time. So I want to leave a little bit of grass, so that's 25, so that's 75%. I want to lower the scale a little bit and lower the radius. I think this was about a 3. Yeah, that looks about right. So I'm going to gotta choose my path, so I don't want to go up on these mountains, so I think this kind of works. It's a little bit of a valley here, kind of have it a little bit, not a straight path, around this boulder, up a little bit. It's okay to go a couple blocks up, but don't want to go up all these kind of sharp mountains. Come along the apple orchard here. I think I'm gonna sneak in between these mountains, past this boulder, and then let's connect it up to the main path. I'm going to make it kind of the triangle so that you can either go this way, any of the 3 directions. But that kind of connects up the story a little bit better. Alright, so if I come down here to my little list I made, I guess we can change this up. 28. So, did the bone mealing, extended the path in the lava river. So the more features, I've got my burnt forest, I've got my boulders, hunter cabin, I got my large tree. Don't think I'm going to do flower patches. Fallen tree, I guess I did 2 in 1 with that. Abandoned village, I don't think I'm going to do that on the kind of plains itself. So let's grab some red. So not that one. I think I'm going to do one of those up in the mountains. Kind of like how I've got my starter village over here. I might do another one over here and then another over here just to fill out the mountains a little bit more. And the pond and stream. So I was debating doing this because I've got my massive kind of pond here with the river, and then I did my little pond in there. So I don't think I need any more. So if I kind of do like a quick fly around, I got everything loaded, preloaded in, took a little while to load it all in. I think this is pretty good for the amount of detail. I don't want to make it too overcrowded because you don't really need detail or something happening in every single corner of the plains. Sometimes it's okay to just have plains. So we've got the one more thing of the tunnel here. I've got to kind of destroy some trees and then hollow out into the special area where this lava will go over here. Nice big open area here. Over here, I've still got to do my kind of little gate here for where the lava is going to flow into where this was, where the kind of ignition point was for my burnt down forest here. So I've got to still do that. Alright, so I've cut out a section here and copied over my little design for a gate. Problem is, this one's on an angle, so I'm going to have to worry about getting it squared in here. Also, the distance might not be the same, so I'm going to first dig out my little, not tunnel, but a little bit of an area that's going to connect up these 2 bits here so that the lava can flow nicely. And then I'm going to place it in. I might just grab slice by slice and then just slot it in because the width should be the same, hopefully. And then we'll see how it fits in nicely. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to raise the lava up by 1, because this feels a little bit low, so I've kind of brought in the edge here. So now I can bring it all up by 1, that doesn't seem to be a problem anywhere, and it'll feel a little bit more natural. So what I'm going to try first, let's see if this works. So we're going to do the move tool. So we got one of these end bits, so we can match over to here. So actually I don't need to grab that bit. What I can do is I can grab the second bit. So I'm going to grab here to here, and then move back to here. I'll go 1 down just to be safe. And then let's try and place it in here. So we want to match it up with the shape here. So over here, it's back 1 compared to that. So move it up. Let's see, will that fit? And let's place it in. Alright, that's looking good. So let's grab the rest of it. Actually, before we do that, we're going to need to draw the line that it needs to follow. So I'm going to put that back up there. Grab a nice colorful block. Let's go with red. We're going to go from here to here. So let's use the nice and handy smear tool. just to get a nice, perfect kind of line across. So now I know where I kind of have to have it lined up against. So the first one's 2, so instead of just grabbing one by one, actually we're gonna have to count the number. So let's do that first. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So let's see. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Ooh, that was too many. So we're actually too many. So what I'm gonna do, let's see. So we're gonna remove this and this, and then we'll just bring it in so the top will be slightly thinner on there. So let's start off. Alright, so we've removed these two sections instead. And what I'm going to do is I'm now going to kind of go around and fix up these kind of little corners you see here. So what I need to do is go back here and fix up like that. So I'm just going to go around connecting everything a little bit nicer. And then we're going to do the same for the grates. I think I'll do on the inside instead like that. And that'll just fix it all up. I think these are too far out. No, okay. So we want to do like this. And then on the inside. And then we can remove this kind of guideline we used. And I'm going to bring these down into the ground a little bit. That's all good. I think it's ready for the lava. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all of this. There's a nice kind of reminder so I knew what I was looking for. That's all good. And now we can go with the lava. So I'm going to do a little bit manually before I do any using Axiom. So we know it's going to come along here. And let's jump to the other side. Ooh, not there. So I'm going to want to expand this out so that it's kind of more of a lava flowing through this bit. Don't want too many like up bits here, so I'm going to bring it back a little bit just so it feels like only lava can get through this area. No one can kind of sneak down. Or bring it down at least one more level for all those and fix those up. Alright, so I fixed up the gate a little bit. I fixed up the little edge bits. They were kind of still unupdated. They had this little bit here, so I just did a trigger update in the Axiom, and I filled in the lava. So just doing a simple flood fill, and then you just change your active lock to lava, and then whatever's blue will be, like you can see here, that's what I did for this. So now we got the lava coming through. Now I've got to make a decision, either lore-based or just aesthetic-based. So originally the lava would have come down here through this little trench, and this is where the ignition started and burnt down this forest. So I need your help in making a decision. Should I fill in this lava and keep it going all the way, because you can't really burn down a forest twice, or should I have the dwarves make like a third gate here in the center? Instead of using the iron bars, should I make like a solid one where they've made the decision to cut off the lava so the lava is no longer flowing out this way? So they found their mistake and they've fixed it. So I need you to let me know down in the comments, what do you think I should do? Should I leave the lava to flow or should I cut it off here? Let me know. Alright, and that's everything I made for my little list here. So I've kind of completed everything that I thought should be done, gone through my yes and no's, removed a couple, but I think that it's really brought together this entire area. If you have any more ideas for how I can fill out these, maybe a couple more little empty spots, maybe you feel something might fit well in one of these areas, but is still on theme. No going with maybe build like a alien spaceship or something. It's a fantasy world, and I want to keep it the theme very consistent in this area. So if you have any other kind of dwarvish areas, maybe a little bit fantasy, something that would fit in this area, leave it down in the comments, and I'd love to hear about it. But I think that's it for my detailing episode. So if you've enjoyed today's episode, please leave a like and subscribe for more episodes coming soon. Until next time.